or possibly stuck in traffic. We
It's the same security thing.
We didn't get a confirmation.
Good evening. I'd like to welcome all of you to the Delaware-Muncie Metropolitan Plan Commission regular meeting. At this time, if you would please stand for the pledge.
To the republic which stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Borchers?
Here.
Mr. Brand?
Here.
Mr. Carroll?
Present.
Mr. Curley? Mr. Dishman? Ms. Hensley? Here. Mr. Ivy?
Here.
Mr. Lachey?
Here.
Mr. Landis? Mr. Leach? Ms. Sipe? Here. Mr. Smith?
Here.
We have 9 here. We have 8 voting members. So we do have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. Okay, at this time I would entertain a motion for approval of the November minutes, meeting minutes.
I'll make a motion. Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Questions? Roll call, please.
Mr. Brand?
Yes.
Mr. Carroll?
Yes.
Mr. Dishman?
Yes.
Ms. Hensley?
Yes.
Mr. Ivy?
Yes.
Mr. Lachey?
Yes.
Ms. Sipe?
Yes.
Mr. Smith?
Yes.
Okay, so we have 8 yeses, so that is official action of the board of approval of the November 2025 meeting minutes.
Okay, so before we get to our first case, just a couple of reminders, a couple pieces of information for everyone. If you would please make sure your cell phones are silenced. When your case is read, or a case is read, one person representing that case will come up and speak the microphone to represent. Please do make sure that you're speaking into the microphone. You can move that microphone around when you're speaking. So please make sure you're close to that. After the applicant has had an opportunity, we'll allow time for those who are in support of that application to speak. We will also allow time for those in opposition to speak. We ask that you limit your comments to 3 minutes. We will have somebody keeping track. We won't necessarily cut you off mid-sentence at 3 minutes, but just please try to keep that in mind as we're speaking. Be respectful, keep your comments, like I said, brief and to the case itself. It does take 5 votes, and you heard we do have quorum here. Normally, this body will give approval or a favorable recommendation or unfavorable recommendation, but there is a case here tonight where we give approval or disapproval or approval with conditions. So just wanted to make that clear to everybody. I think that's it. So with that, we'll move on to our first case.
MPC 05-25A, Jurisdiction, City Council. Being a consideration of approval to amend the text of the subdivision regulations for the City of Muncie regarding changes as described in the following. Article 5, Improvements and Requirements. supplement the subsection after section 2830 sidewalks as section 2831 natural features, and then recodify the remaining sections. So this began back in 2023 from a request from the Muncie Urban Forestry Committee to amend the city subdivision ordinance to basically match the county subdivision ordinance. There was no requirement for tree plantings in the city subdivision ordinance. So this started back in 2023. The committee had worked with one of our staff members that is no longer here, and then we were asked after she was gone to pick this up. So it's taken us a while to circle back around to this, but this did start quite a while ago. This was mentioned at the 2023 October Plan Commission meeting, and the suggestion at that meeting by Commissioner Henry, who was on the board at that time, he suggested creating a focus group, and that suggestion was supported by the rest of the board. So we picked up on that earlier this year, and we did form a focus group. The members that we included were Malcolm Carnes. He is the chair of the Muncie Urban Forestry Committee. Courtney Pruitt, she is from Muncie Sanitary District. She's a stormwater compliance inspector. Josh Perkins is owner of Plant Studio Landscaping. Justin Curley is the Purdue Extension County Extension Director. And we included the previous, he's now the previous city building commissioner, but at that time he was the acting building commissioner, Steve Selvey. And he made some comments at that meeting as having spoke to Adam Leach, which is the city engineer, about the topic as well. So we did meet. Some of the discussion that we had, the focus group did agree on the language that was in the county subdivision ordinance to just be basically mirrored in the city subdivision ordinance. Bonds were discussed, and the final decision on that was that any bond would fall under the mayor's executive decision, so no language about including a bond for tree installation should be included in the subdivision ordinance. It was raised about releasing a certificate of occupancy. So it was decided that releasing a certificate of occupancy is the decision of the city building commissioner. So there's no restrictive language on C of Os included in this ordinance change. And then the original request was for the trees to be planted within the right-of-way, and the city building commissioner, along with the county or city engineer Adam Leach, did not agree with that. Planting trees in the right-of-way causes damage to sometimes the streets, a lot of times the sidewalks, so that was not included as well. But those were just a few of our points of discussion. I can answer any more question the board has, and I know Malcolm is here this evening, probably to speak. And then we also did pass out to the board one letter of support that we received, and that was from Adam Berland, who is professor of geography and a member of the Muncie Urban Forestry Committee and a Muncie resident. So that was included in your packets as well.
Okay. Is there anyone here who wants to speak in support of this resolution? Go ahead. If you could approach and please state your name and address in the microphone, please.
I'm Malcolm Cairns, chair of the Muncie Urban Forestry Committee, and I have a short statement to read. And I am speaking in favor, but I have reservation, and I hope that my reservation will be.
Could you move a little closer to that? Sure. I think it's the one that's lit up red there.
Okay, is this better?
A little bit, yeah.
Okay. I am the chair of the Muncie Urban Forestry Committee, a 9-member body established by city ordinance to advise and support our city forester and the Muncie Parks Urban Forestry Program. We initiated this proposed ordinance a year ago, over a year ago, and with the assistance, as you've just heard, with a former commission staff member, we discovered that street trees are required by the county subdivision ordinance, and I'm gonna emphasize street trees are required by the county subdivision ordinance, but not in the city ordinance. We requested that the plan commission consider an ordinance change to bring the city requirement up to that of the county. And I'm only gonna quote a part of section 4 in the county subdivision ordinance. And it is, I quote, "The subdivider shall provide at least 2 trees per front yard in the street right-of-way. Such trees shall have a minimum trunk diameter of not less than 2 inches, measured 12 inches above ground." The draft that you are considering changes this language from "on the street right-of-way" to "in the front yard setback." While we are supporting any change that will require more trees in our residential subdivisions, we respectfully ask that these required trees be on the right-of-way as indicated by the county ordinance. Mapping of our grant-funded Davy Tree Inventory and Assessment of Muncie's public trees indicates tree deserts along our public streets in a variety of locations, including our downtown area, older residential areas where substantial numbers of street trees have been removed and not replaced, and interestingly, in residential and office and commercial subdivisions developed in the last 40 years, where no street trees were required. Requiring trees to be planted in the right-of-way of new subdivisions will address the avoidance of future tree deserts. Trees matter. This is not a request for simple beautification efforts. Trees in our urban environment should be considered urban infrastructure. They filter air pollutants, sequester carbon, provide comfortable microclimate, and importantly, have been shown to moderate temperatures associated with our urban heat islands. The provision of street trees as infrastructure should be considered a wise and economical addition to other public improvements associated with subdivision development. We support this proposal as drafted, but with respect, ask that the required trees should be provided in the right-of-way, matching the requirement in the city ordinance. Thank you.
Anybody else to speak in support of this resolution?
Good evening. Dan Ridenhour, Mayor of Muncie. If anybody knows how to turn this light off, I was in the parade and I don't have any idea how to turn this one off, so I apologize. And Adam is still in the parade, but I am in support of this, but not with the changing of it to be in the right of way necessarily because of the dam. I just know recently we did University Avenue and we had to tear down. We had to eliminate several trees. It damages sidewalks, but we definitely want the trees. So I support it as it's currently written. The city does.
Anybody else? Anyone here to speak in opposition to this resolution? Questions or discussion from the board?
I have a question. I'm not a forestry expert, but I've heard that the root system to a tree is approximately the width of its leaves. Does anyone know the answer to that? So if we had them in the right of way, they could potentially go under the street?
I'd say depending on the type of tree.
Okay.
There are
Right.
certain trees that you can plant that the roots go straight down.
Okay.
But other trees go out, and it depends on the type of tree.
So in my neighborhood, my right of way is probably pretty small. And I would think if I planted a tree that was to grow maybe 8 or 10 inches in diameter, I would imagine that the roots would probably go under city infrastructure at some point, sidewalks or roads. Is that a good assumption?
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Other questions? Discussion? Okay, nothing, I'd entertain a motion from someone.
I guess procedural question here, is this we're making a recommendation, or we're making like a favorable, unfavorable, or are we doing something to approve here?
We are doing favorable or unfavorable. This will ultimately go to city council for a decision, so it will be introduced at city council with our recommendation, and they are the deciding body.
Mr. President, I'd like to make a favorable recommendation.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Carroll,
Yes.
Mr. Dishman,
Yes.
Ms. Hensley,
Yes.
Mr. Ivy,
Yes.
Mr. Lachey,
Yes.
Ms. Sipe,
Yes.
Mr. Brand,
Yes.
Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, so that is 8 yeses for a favorable recommendation. This recommendation will be forwarded to city council, so this will be introduced at their next meeting, which is January 5th. That is at City Hall, beginning at 6:45 p.m.
Okay, next case, please.
MPC 22-25S jurisdiction, Delaware Muncie Metropolitan Plan Commission, being a public hearing on the matter of a primary approval for Mason Ridge subdivision, a subdivision consisting of 126 lots, generally located on the northwest corner of West Jackson Street and North Morrison Avenue, Muncie, Indiana.
Austin Lewitt, can you hear me? Check, check. There you go.
Yeah, closer you can get, the better. Thank you.
Austin Lewis, Banning Engineering, 853 Columbia Road, Plainfield, Indiana. First off, I would just like to thank you for allowing me to speak tonight. Before we get started, I want to thank Danelle, Adam, John, and Kayleen, and the rest of the planning staff for all their help through this process. I would like to talk about D.R. Horton first. They are the largest home builder in the United States. They were founded in 1978 and has since built a million plus homes. Their mission statement is to deliver quality and affordable homes across the country. Since 2002, many people have chosen D.R. Horton than any other builder, and also they like to provide a home for every stage in life. They are also the current builder of Store Estates neighborhood through the partnership with the city. So this is a vicinity map of Mason Ridge. Our site is at Morrison Road and Jackson Street. We're about 2 miles away from Ball State, 2.5 miles away from Muncie, from downtown Muncie, and about 1.5 miles from McGalliard Road. Here is the parcel in question. It's Mason Ridge. This is currently a farmland. It's zoned R1. Here is the primary plat. With this, we have 126 lots in the subdivision. We are, sorry, 1 second. It's a 37-acre parcel with 126 lots with 2 entrances. The main entrance will be off Morrison Road, and the secondary will be off Jackson Street. This subdivision will have a total of 10.5 acres of green space and common area with which is included in 3 ponds and an amenity area. The amenity area is denoted by the common area C label as you go through the entrance off Morrison Road. Also, this subdivision will have internal sidewalks that will allow all the residents to walk to the amenity area. The minimum lot size in this subdivision is 50 feet wide by 125 feet deep, with the majority of these lots being bigger than 50 foot wide. These are just a sample elevation from the Store Estates. This product is going to be very similar to what D.R. Horton is offering there and will be offering at Mason Ridge. Any questions?
Go ahead.
Are you gonna be using, local contractors to build that?
That is a DR Horton question. They have a developer, Oakmont, they're based out of Fort Wayne, and they will be the ones deciding on, they're going to give that open bid, and then they're going to be the ones deciding on who will be the contractors.
Question.
Sure.
Excuse me. So Store Estates, I grew up just south of there and on Winthrop. And I thought DR Horton did a great job with Store Estates, especially given what they had to work with. I knew the topology of the land previous. And when I drove through, I think it looks great. And I have the privilege of living east of this development. So I don't know if DR Horton's following me or I'm following them or what. But so the majority of where I spend my time seems to be a development coming up. So my question is specifically, it looks, when you look at the plat, the lot sizes, are they smaller than at Store? I didn't go and measure people's lots at Store, but how do these lot sizes stack up to the Store Estates lot sizes? Because I know what that looks like, but
So, Mr. Lachey.
yes.
So I had the same question.
Oh, okay.
So I'm not trying to walk everybody.
Yep.
I got this earlier today.
Oh.
These are the
Okay.
lot sizes from Store Estates because I had the same
Oh,
question.
okay.
So you can see that the lot sizes. I just looked at what was easiest for me was the square footage of each lot. So
Okay,
the square
got it.
footage of the lots in Store Estates are some of them twice the size of the ones in
So Store Estates
what
is
would be this
larger.
Mason Ridge.
Okay. Okay, thank you for answering my question.
Yep.
Who's developing the ground?
Oakmont Development.
Do you? I'm not sure who can answer this question, but who determines the size of the lots and how many lots you put in this acreage? Like what goes into that decision, and who decides okay, this subdivision gets these size lots, this subdivision gets these size lots.
That would be DR Horton.
Yeah, as far as what's written in the ordinance has to be followed.
Right.
Other than that, if they are following what's written in the ordinance, then it's developers'
Okay.
choice.
Yeah, and the ordinance for our one lots are 40 by 120, and we're doing a minimum of 50 by 125. But most of the lots are bigger than 50 by 125.
Okay. But that's a minimum, correct?
Correct.
So who determines that you go by who determines where we're going to go by what the minimum is, or we're not going to go above that, or what goes into that decision?
Am I allowed to jump in?
Sure.
Rob Lukemeyer, DR Horton, 3665 Priority South Drive, Indianapolis. So I do work at DR Horton. A lot of times we're choosing the lot size based on the community, based on what we think the right fit for Muncie as a whole is. So in this case, the zoning would allow for a more density, but we didn't feel like a 40-foot lot would be the right product. We felt that the 50-foot lot would fit our 40-foot product, which we feel at Store has done really well, so we wanted to kind of duplicate that. So the reasoning was more about kind of market demand.
Okay. Thank you.
So
Go
the
ahead.
Store product is going to be similar to this product. They're just going to be on smaller lots.
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And there'll be some 1-story, some 2-story, size ranges anywhere from 1,500 to 2,600 square feet.
I have a question. How much will these homes sell for?
Yeah, we're looking right now anywhere from the low 300s to 325,000. And that's a base price. We also have option packages that may fluctuate that number a little bit.
Are these 3 or 4 bedroom homes?
Most of these are 3. I'd have to double check. We may have some 4 bedrooms as well.
What's gonna be the length between the two houses, depending, say you have two stories next to each other, what would be the average width between two stories? Like for the upper right-hand picture, I would say you get more square footage out of that, obviously, because it's 2 stories, right? On a 50-foot lot or so, what's the average width between the two houses, maybe? Do you know that?
So we have, 10 total is the side yard setbacks. So there's going to be minimum of 10 feet in between each house. Yeah, 10 total in between 2 houses.
Okay. Do you have any other subdivisions that have these lot sizes?
Yeah, we have a lot.
And they sell okay in other communities?
Yeah,
Okay.
Will you be asking for any variances?
As of right now, no.
Okay.
Well, I think when it's time for, when we give time to for people to speak in support or opposition, that would be the time to, then they'll have time for a rebuttal to whatever questions you may pose.
And if I might, I'll also add, I'm happy to hand out my contact info to anyone who's here. So if you have questions that aren't resolved here, I'm happy to have further discussions.
Does the board have any other questions
Not at this time.
at this point?
I have a question. Have you have you spoken with, adjacent neighborhood associations about what was taking place and what was their take on it?
Officially, we have not. I did meet some here tonight thus far, because a lot of times we're doing that during the rezone process. And prior to rezone, a lot of times we have a community meeting. Since this was zoned properly already, it just kind of fast forwarded to this spot. Our developer has reached out to some of the neighbors just to discuss what we're doing. He's had some luck getting hold of some and some not so much. But again, that's part of why I'm here now, is to open up that dialogue. And I know that some of the neighboring HOAs discussed concerns about drainage, which I think that we covered. The tree line, which we intend to keep existing, also including a buffer. So I think some of their original concerns have already been at least answered, but obviously they'll have a chance to speak as well.
Thank you.
I understand this to be Muncie City Police, Muncie City Fire, Muncie City Taxes, and Yorktown Schools. Do I have that correct?
That's the way I understand it.
Okay. Thank you.
I just have one, and I don't mean to keep making this about Storer Estates, but my daughter just bought a house in there, and I'm really familiar with what those look like, and so I'm trying to get a picture of what this eventually may look like. So, how different are the floor plans or house plans from what's there to what? Because what the picture that you show looks really pretty similar to what I see in her neighborhood. How different are they, or are they different at all?
So that's a good question. The pictures shown here are actual elevation used in Storer Estates. Some of these elevations we're no longer offering, but when it comes to similarities, they're all very relatable, is the best I can say. And we'll have full color renderings, things like that coming up, so we're happy to share that when we have those available.
Okay, thank you.
And worth note, we're looking at a development stage that would take place throughout this year if all goes well. Delivery of homes, we probably have model built first quarter of next year. By that time, we're going to have approximately 4 new elevations that we're working with. So we're still getting renderings, making sure those are up to code, things like that. So that's part of why we didn't want to add those, because we want to make sure they're finalized prior to bringing them to public.
When do you anticipate a full sellout based on other neighborhoods you've done and based on our demographic here? 126 homes aren't going in next year.
Correct.
Okay. What's the timeline for the development, please?
The development is going to be running right ahead of the construction, but overall we're looking at about a 3-year sales pace. Maybe less. I sure hope less. Not that we're trying to get out, but selling homes is what we do. So,
Are you going to develop the entire neighborhood, all the streets first, and then sell the lots, or are you going to have pieces of streets?
So we will be phasing this. We're looking at currently 3 phases that may get dropped to 2, but for instance, all the mass groundwork will be done up front. So we'll balance all the dirt. The ponds will all be in the first phase. Most of the streets will be put in, especially in the first phase. A lot of times they'll leak into the second phase. But yeah, those should be staggered a little bit.
Are the ponds just for lot drainage, or are you connecting into the stormwater sewers that go along Morrison?
So we're going to put in our own storm discharge into the creek. It's going to be storage for the site itself. So right now, currently, we have about, in like 100-year rainfall event, there's about 59 CFS going through that farmland right now. We're detaining all that water and having a release rate about 4. So we're actually cutting that down by 90% of the stormwater runoff.
So you're
for
going to
that site.
store it in the ponds, and then the
Correct.
overflow goes into the creek?
Yep. And we have to meet all the ordinances set by the county and the city. So we'll meet all those ordinances that are set forth.
What kind of common amenities are you planning on building?
You like how we just keep bouncing back and forth?
Sorry,
Um,
my rapid fire questions.
no,
I
these are great.
apologize.
No, these are all great
I
questions.
figured other people may have them as well.
Yeah, may as well. So the amenities, we haven't fully figured out what we're going to do with the amenities. I'll flip back to, you can see the amenities directly off of Morrison. There's a green space there. We haven't figured out exactly what we'll do. What I can tell you is that we don't intend to just leave it as a grass lot. We will certainly put in some sort of amenity that really helps the community as a whole to have kind of a gathering spot. So we're just not sure exactly what that's going to be yet.
Do you think it'll be more like a shelter? Do you think it'll be like a playground, or just no idea really yet?
I think we're leaning towards exactly something like that.
And you're referring to the green, right as you come in the neighborhood there? Referring to that green lot, the larger lot? Okay, thank you.
Okay, any other questions for either of these gentlemen?
Will this neighborhood have a homeowners association?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, is there anyone else here other than representative from D.R. Horton or them that wants to speak in support of this application?
Good evening again. Mayor Dan Ridenhour, 300 East McCullough Boulevard. I will say that this was not a city project. It was something that they told us that they put it under contract. We had been trying to sell them some other places, and we're continuing to do that as well. But I will tell you, we have been extremely pleased with the work that they did at Store Estates. They originally had told us, with Lee Phillips, who was the person that we dealt with, that it would take about 3 years to sell out Store Estates. They sold it out in 5 months. It showed, what I believe it did, is it showed D.R. Horton that there is an excessive demand for new housing in this area. Part of that reason, and this is why I'm very supportive of this, part of that reason is we have 10,000 people each and every day that do not live in Delaware County, but come into Delaware County to work. And what we found when we built the White River Lofts is 39 of those 55 people that first moved in already worked here, but they were living in Hamilton County. A few in Madison County. but they were paying their income taxes, which helped supply all the funds that we as a city and Delaware County as a county need to provide the services. They were, all those income taxes from those people who work here and use our roads and our police department if they have an accident and all of our other services, all those taxes, the little income tax, 1.5%, well, that's what it is here in Delaware County, that all goes to those other counties. And so the 39 people that moved into the White River Lofts downtown said that the reason they hadn't moved here before is there was no new suitable housing. So this has been, that's why we as a city, we built Storer Estates. And we sold all the lots to D.R. Horton. We attempted to get local builders to do it, but nobody bought any. So we ended up selling them to D.R. Horton, and they were fantastic. I will tell you, 2 physicians. Other people have moved here from Hamilton County. That's what has moved into Storer Estates. Those will be the similar type quality people that we want here who are probably already working here. And then that income base will be available for, here's how the income taxes work. 42% of all property taxes will go to Yorktown schools. That's how it works. That's where those income, that's where it will go. 24% will go to the city of Muncie to provide for police and fire and EMS. And then 19% goes to the county, which provides for the other services. And then the remaining will go to whatever the sanitary district is. I honestly don't know. It is Muncie Sanitary District. So the sanitary district gets a portion, libraries get a portion, the township gets a portion. But 42% of the taxes, even though it's in the city of Muncie, will go to Yorktown schools. That's how it works. And if somebody lives in Wapahani schools, 40%, 42% of those taxes would go to the school system. School system takes off the top. And then there's not much difference between the city and the county. This is critical for the long-term sustainability of our city and our county, is to provide these options for people to live here who already work here. And that is why I am very supportive. When they said where they were doing it, we thought that's a great idea. They've not asked for anything from the city. D.R. Horton is the #1 home builder in the country. We are very supportive of this, and those are some of the reasons. I think you'll find that these will be very nice homes. The lots are going to be a little skinnier. Some of them, not all of them, but some of them be a little skinnier than Storer Estates. But the houses will be the same, and there's still plenty of space between the houses. And I think this will be a great draw for people who come here to work, to actually live here. And for some who are maybe in a starter home, this will be a way that they can move their family to the next stage up. And so I ask that the Planning Commission please provide a favorable on this. Thank you.
Anyone else here to speak in support of this application?
So the process will be that the next phase of this will be anyone in opposition, which can include people who just have questions, and then there can be a response.
Is there a time period for neutral?
I mean, if you wanted to get up in favorable or unfavorable, you can do that.
Thank you. Okay, anyone here to speak in opposition to this application, please approach. I won't call you out. You guys will just have to work out who goes where.
Good evening. My name is Wayne Zage. My wife Dolores Zage is with me, as well as some of our other residents from our area. We are residents of Muncie for the last 49 years, retired from the computer science department at Ball State after 77 collective years. That's my wife and myself, and I don't have to tell you which of us had more years, but 77 collective years of service there. And we've been living in the Saddlebrook addition since 2002. I have 3 points I want to mention, and mostly it's things you've heard a little bit about already. but I have some details that maybe would add to the whole picture. The first item is on lot size, the second item is traffic, and the third item talks about factors affecting the choice to live in Muncie and not live in Muncie as we see it from a Ball State perspective. On lot size, as you know, an acre is 43,560 square feet. The typical lot size, as mentioned in the preliminary application for Mason Ridge, is 6,250 square feet. So that's about 14/100ths of an acre, just a little bit more than 1/8 of an acre. And we also hear that houses in Mason Ridge would likely be in the $300,000 range and possibly higher with amenities. Now, if I'm spending $300,000 or more for a house like that, I certainly want more than 14/100ths of an acre. In fact, you may be restricting my building options, and we know there's some templates of what those houses will be, and I may have to have a second story just to get enough space as I see fit for my family. And a ranch style may be out because of that small acreage. Also, if you think about it from a standpoint of housing density, and you take the 126 lots and spread it over the acreage, and you can do the arithmetic, knowing that 21.15 acres are designated for lots, 21.15 acres for lots, you end up with 5.95 houses per acre. So think of this, the significance of the clustering of these houses, of the density of the houses. And small lots simply are not always attractive to a buyer. Consider the Pine View at Riverside development, which was started in the early 2000s. The typical lot size there is 0.15 acres, which is slightly larger than the typical lot size proposed by Mason Ridge. After 20 years, there are still 37 lots for sale, and those are the smaller ones that were developed in that development. Some people have mentioned Storer Estates, and we've heard just recently from the mayor that these houses are somewhat smaller. They're considerably smaller, actually, with the square footage of 20 of them that I have on a piece of paper here, ranging from 9,600 square feet up to 14,212, and these are all in phase 1 of Storer Estates. One option would be potentially, I mean, we're in favor of a project like this, but not the way that it's set up with that many lots in that confined area. Let's talk about traffic for a moment, since we haven't heard anything about that. We live just off Morrison, and cars tend to cluster heading north and south down Morrison. You may find 6 to 8 cars forming a mini parade with 20-yard spacing between cars heading north. And just as those pass by, a similar parade shows up from the north heading south. And when the group passes together, cars heading north show up again. Turning south on Saddlebrook can take much longer than expected. I know that's trivial compared to large cities, but it has an impact on the number of people around us. Now imagine cars coming from Mason Ridge, exiting and returning from work, school, sporting events, and other extracurricular activities merging with that traffic. And then throw in those coming from a train who had just passed, and a line of cars heading that way, either heading north on Morrison or using the roundabout to turn west on Jackson, all impacting the traffic in that area.
Sir, your time is up.
Okay.
If you could wrap
Well,
up, that'd be
just
great.
A quick summary on the factors affecting people not living in Muncie. I've been on a number of search committees for Ball State, and usually we try to list the kinds of things we can do at Ball State and in Muncie to attract good faculty. And over again, we had the following 5 items, and you know these, and we've made some great strides in these areas. The quality of schools for the children, private schools, better restaurants, lack of amenities such as shopping and entertainment, and also transit systems. And almost never do they worry about housing until after they were here, potentially renting for a year, and then finally finding a place to buy. Thank you for your
Thank you.
time.
Hello, Mark Collette from Clearwater Condos, board member there. He took a lot of my thunder here. That great speech. Similar concerns. Traffic. I can't imagine school buses getting in and out of those neighborhoods that close to the roundabout. Seems like a lot of danger, excuse me, a lot of dangerous situations could occur there. I mirror his thoughts on the size of the lots. I have been in touch with several folks, President of Willow Lakes, Dave Wilson, Jeff Thomas, the developer, and have had several conversations with him. Just yesterday, he told me some of the homes will have 10 feet from exterior wall to the neighboring exterior wall. It seems similar to what they call trailer lots in Cowing Park area. That seems like an awful narrow, a narrow path between those homes. It seems like they are stacking them kind of close there. We had concerns about the tree line. Jeff assured us the tree line was going to stay. Excuse me, was going to stay in place, and that no fences were going to be erected. I know that was a concern from some other members of our community. However, to leave the tree line seemed to be a good positive thing for the folks along that road there on Saybrook. To know that it's an HOA is a great thing. Rules and regulations, I think, play their part in keeping the neighborhoods nice and neat, as we have in Clearwater. So that's appreciated. I'm concerned about sidewalks. We do see a lot of people walking Morrison from neighboring neighborhoods and apartment complex. I didn't know if there was going to be sidewalks on the west side of Morrison, perhaps. I drove through Store Estates today myself, and I did see that the homes look wider and are definitely on wider lots. So to find out about lots that are 50 feet wide or 40 feet wide even is a little concerning. That seems awful narrow. I'm a little disappointed, honestly, that in the photos we see from D.R. Horton that there's no brick on the front of these homes. I would hope that there would have been a percentage of brick involved in this development, make it look a little bit classier and homier. Unfortunately, it looks like they're going to be vinyl homes, but I guess that's the choice of D.R. Horton's plans. I believe that's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, my name's Dave Wilson. I'm the president of the HOA at Willow Lake. There's a lot of things that are possible negatives to this. Of course, we would prefer it didn't happen at all. But if it does happen, we have a lot of concern about three things that are very important to us at Willow Lake. And they're the three P's: privacy, property value, and our peacefulness. And when you're talking about, and let me just quickly tell you where this is. We're along that top road. There's very little space at the back of that lot to us. This area right here is a big green area. So our concerns are, number one, they're going to be too close to us for the privacy and peacefulness that is very important to us at Willow Lake. Number two, that big green space is going to be a very attractive place for the kids that are going to live here in these homes. And they're going to come and they're going to be wanting to play baseball or football or whatever. We also have a lake. People might want to come and fish. That's not allowed. We're private, but people do that. We also have a nice place to walk, a nice circular place to walk all the way around. We don't want people coming over and walking. It's private property. We also are concerned about people cutting through to go up to Lowe's and Walmart. We also have concerns about our swimming pool and how attractive that might be for some kids to come over late at night. So we have a lot of concerns about the peacefulness, the privacy, and therefore our property value. So what we would ask is, if this goes forward, that there be a requirement that they build an 8 to 10 foot privacy fence across the entire north edge of their property. Because otherwise we will suffer a lot of damage to what makes Willow Lake an attractive place to live. And we'd like to be good neighbors with them, And if they're going to be good neighbors with us, that'll go a long way toward that. Thank you.
Good evening. My name's Jill Gasper. We currently live at 1300 North Saybrook in Muncie. We are on one of the property lines that's going to neighbor the proposed on the west side. We are there temporarily, so what I say is of good faith, and it will not have a big impact on my life one way or the other, but it will on our neighbors that we have gotten to know. Most of them are senior citizens, and like the gentleman just said, they do, value their privacy and quietness, peacefulness. My husband and I have lived in Delaware County all of our lives. Since 1979, we've been property owners. 39 of those years, we have lived in the Mount Pleasant Township area. So very familiar with the schools. Any questions that you would have that way, we'd be happy to answer any of those questions. We've seen the growth and the development along the way. Over that course of time, we witnessed developments of a lot of subdivisions. We've been spoiled by it. Farmington, TK Town, Heron Point, Brindell Woods, Deerbrook Meadows, Deerbrook Estates, Longs Lake. And there was some really fine property at one time on the northeast corner of 500 West and Bethel. I wish I would have bought one of those large lots back then. But the difference between then and now were that those developers and those owners lived in those additions that they developed. They became overseers, and they made sure that the properties stayed maintained. And then because they lived among us, they became our community leaders, they served on boards, they became volunteers, and they supported our youth organizations. And when you become invested to that degree, you care about Delaware County, and you begin to have a vision for what you want your hometown to be. So moving forward now to the growth and development, I do just kind of want to interrupt myself here and say that I've been checking Realtor and Zillow lately, and I would consider this a slow season with the holidays, but there are currently just under 500 listings, and that is just in 47303, 47304, and 47396. So there is plenty of housing. I don't see us in an inventory crunch at this point, not like they were back in the 80s. Any realtor is going to tell you location, 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 and boy, is this in prime real estate. And because of that, it deserves a vision or what we want that people would be attracted to and to come to. And the lots these sizes are just insufficient. To give you a visual, because some of you were asking on the lot sizes, and I hate to offend anybody, but the only way I've ever heard of this called is Cheese Box Edition. Anybody heard of that? Do you know where it's located? It would be on the south side of McGalliard, just on the other side of where the Muncie Mall was. Small homes, small lots. And I have a cousin that lives there. My uncle lived there before they moved. But those lots are about 60 foot wide, if that gives you a visual. In searching Beacon, I found that some of the smallest lots in the width were found located behind the Northwest Plaza. Most of the smaller ones were right along closer to Bethel. As you move from Bethel towards the Northwest Plaza, the lot sizes became wider, 60, 65. So to get something of 50 foot, it's almost hard to find in this area. They're very small homes, and most of them are Ball State rentals along that area. But not only in the development and the growth.
Ma'am, your time is up.
Okay. I have so much more to say, though. I think that what I think is probably likely this will pass because they have met their criteria in my research without consulting with consulting firms. So what I would like the commission to do is probably similar to something that what we've done, take a pause We've had to do that with solar panels, and we've having to do that with property out at the reservoir. We're taking a pause to go back and look at policy. I would ask that the Planning Commission look for a long-term comprehensive plan that considers the cohesion of the area, larger lot sizes, also visual cohesion. Just comprehensive cohesion and visual cohesion, I have learned, are different things.
Thank you.
Okay. I will be open for if anybody would ask to hear more about what I said. I do want to thank you for the opportunity. Keep the vision of Delaware County alive. And one other thing, is Danelle here? Is that you? Thank you for all your help and assistance. She was very good.
Of course she is. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Deb Spanis. I live at 1308 North Saybrook Lane. I'm adjacent to the property. I agree with everything that's been said so far. Our major concern is the size of the lots, and also there's a little green area, but with the number of houses in there, how many kids are going to be able to play catch? They're going to be in the street. With the small sizes of the lots, where are cars going to park in the street, or is there going to be room? Are they all going to be able to accommodate in the driveway? Because if you're talking about a family and they have a teenager that drives, you're talking 3 cars. So that also goes into it. So we'd like to see more green area. As far as directly affecting Clearwater condominiums, we have a horrendous flooding problem now that comes from the field area. The farmer that had that a couple times took a bulldozer and just extended the field and pushed the trees over and the brush over. And now, and I've been there 26 years, there was never any flooding when I first lived there. And now the water goes all the way up to my sunroom, which is about 15 feet or so, and it doesn't go anywhere. It stays there. So that really needs to be addressed. And that's all the way up and down that side that's right along the construction. It just sits there. So we're also concerned about the safety of our pond. We have a pond, we have a fence around the outer perimeter of it partway down. And we have not had a problem on that side because there's nobody there to come in, but we have a problem on the other side with people coming in to fish in the pond, to play in the pond. And when we've tried to address it and haven't gotten anywhere, and we've tried to call the police, we've been told that they can't come out. And when they have said they can come out, it's been an hour or more before they get there because there aren't enough police. So that's a concern. And how are they going to contain their ponds for safety also? You know, same thing as Willowbrook. We don't want somebody to get hurt. So by having the tree ground, that helps us a lot. But like I said, something basically needs to be done with the drainage there. We're not opposed to having a subdivision, but those lots are really small. That's a lot of housing. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Colby Gray. I live on 212 East McCall Boulevard in Muncie, Indiana, but I'm a 5th generation resident of Delaware County. And I just would like to talk about the big picture real quick, just in the sense that I've been looking at the county for 20 years from different perspectives, and as an urban planner, urban environmental resource manager. And one of the concerns that I have is that our county as a whole is structurally overbuilt. And by that I mean we just have more roads, sidewalks, and streets that we can afford to maintain. And on top of all that, we have a lot of kind of legacy neighborhoods that are kind of in a crisis situation, like almost like a danger zone, where the cost of making repairs to those homes are a challenge financially and economically for homeowners. And again, I guess the common denominator of all this is it's not so much the homes that I'm concerned about. I mean, there's a lot of good discussions about that and how the neighborhoods lay out. It's just that we're creating more infrastructure, more sidewalks, more roads than we can afford to maintain. And honestly, subdivisions never have the capacity to generate the tax revenue they need to maintain themselves. And so what we're doing is we're trading out a land use like farm fields, farm agriculture that generates taxes and doesn't require much back for a subdivision that has a high demand for resources and doesn't end up generating enough to even maintain itself. I know that's a lot to kind of go into. I was able to submit a letter. I believe it's in your packets, so there's a lot more detail there if you would choose to review that. I've also brought another handout that I might leave with Danelle that just kind of goes into that core thesis, which basically uses a couple case studies around the town that just kind of looks at, how much money is being generated from a tax perspective and how much using road maintenance estimates, how much is required to maintain that infrastructure based off the taxes that's being generated. You can see from that kind of cut sheet that, there's just parts of our communities that we're just overbuilt. Like we can't maintain it. And this is a pattern that's been emerging for over the last 80 years, and it really does come down to the suburban single-family house development in general. And so similarly to what was said before, and I kind of would suggest maybe just like a pause on future subdivision developments until we can figure out how to deal with our infrastructure liability issues. And some of the things that were in the letter that was included were just some different policies that could be implemented to offset new developments with kind of dealing with our legacy challenges. So if there's ever maybe this isn't the time to go through that, but if there is ever an opportunity to discuss that at the committee level or in any other context, I'd be happy to visit with any member of the board and go in further discussion about that. So thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Linda Gray, and my husband and I have lived in Saddlebrook for 22 years. My big concern is that Morrison Road, in the 22 years that we've lived there, we have seen traffic explode on Morrison Road. I may wait 8-10 minutes to get into or out of our addition at certain times of the day. There is the roundabout south of Saddlebrook that and beyond that is a railroad crossing. And when the train stops there, that traffic backs up around the roundabout, it backs up on Morrison, and it becomes a real traffic jam. The people that drive from the roundabout to the stop sign on Petty Road, there's very little speed control there, if I can say that. People fly 60 miles an hour from that roundabout to Petty Road, the stop sign. Many people just fly through the stop sign. So I'm very concerned. Since we've lived there, 2 nursing homes have been built. The condominiums across from us, Willow Lake, were only about half done when we moved in. Excuse me. Our neighborhood is full now. And so the population in that area has exploded, but nothing's happened with Morrison. So I would really urge you to consider what adding those number of homes and cars to Morrison will do to how it exists today. Thank you.
And my name is Dick Rassel. I live at 1312 North Saybrook. Show you on the map here. Can't reach high enough, right about there. But along with what everyone else has said, I concur with almost everything I've heard. Dave pointed out the desire to have how we appreciate the privacy and seclusion that we enjoy in our respective additions, how the property is going to come right up to Churchill and pretty much take over that street, it looks like, and how they, I guess what I would like to just reemphasize is that by all means that a fence needs to go along that edge of the property, and I would also continue that fence down the tree line that borders our property. And if it's gonna go forward, so be it, but a pause to relook at things would be my ideal, outcome of this meeting. Thank you.
I'm Lisa Carr. I live at 4917 West Churchill, which is in the Willow Lake Edition. Change is so hard. We do love our privacy. We have loved having that field there to see the deer come across. Nobody wants to lose that, but we know that that's inevitable. One thing, I live at the south corner of Morrison, which is at the north end of the new subdivision. I do have concerns about how small those lots are that are going to be there, and those houses are going to be pretty compacted in there. So I too would respectfully ask that someone's required to put a fence in there and to keep it maintained for us. So thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak in opposition? Would anyone from D.R. Horton or anyone want to address some of their questions, concerns? It's kind of your rebuttal time.
Thanks for all the feedback. I took copious notes because I do honestly appreciate the feedback. We learn, we grow. That's how we do it, is by listening to everyone and what they have to say. Before I jump in on this, I did want to clarify we'll start building homes, if it all goes well, in early 27. I did say early next year. Obviously, I didn't mean in like 3 months. So just want to clarify. The one thing I will touch on, traffic came up a lot. I do want to point out that we did a traffic study that it's all in line with what the traffic study says, and it's kind of hard to see. I don't know if I can zoom in or not, but along Morrison, you can kind of see it on here. We are creating a left turn lane into the neighborhood, so there will be a dedicated lane. I know that doesn't help with the roundabout and the train and things like that, but it is worth noting.
Is that going south on Morrison or north on Morrison?
Northbound.
There's also, you kind of see how this road is going to kind of curve onward onto the property, which will create that turn.
There's not one southbound.
No.
That is southbound.
No, but
The lane southbound on Morrison, the lane will jog to allow that left-hand turn lane, because right now if we just put in that left-hand turn lane, that oncoming traffic will hit right there. So we had to jog it as a decel lane, and so that lane will now go straight or turn right into the subdivision.
Basically, my point is, you're not really going to impede north or southbound traffic because you have some road carved out to either turn right or turn left, right?
Correct.
Is that what you're saying? Or,
Correct.
Okay. Well, there's the southbound turn lane. I'm sorry. Got it. Thank you.
And one other note is, whoever owns this property, I would love to have a chance to talk to them. They were here, but if any of you could have them reach out to me, I'd love to have a chat.
Just to clarify, going northbound on Morrison, is there a left turn lane, or is there room on the
I'll
the
zoom in
east
a little
side
bit more
to-
just to show you.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to see.
I can't really zoom in anymore. So northbound, I could probably just bring up a thing to you to show you. So northbound, there would be a dedicated left turn lane and a dedicated lane to continue northbound on Morrison. And then heading southbound on Morrison, it's a jog lane for a decel lane that will be either a straight or a turn right.
Okay.
So you're
Thank
not
you.
impeding traffic north or south, basically.
Correct.
You have options. Okay, that's what I.
Okay, thank you.
Kind of hard to see that.
A corollary of that for most people would be on Wheeling, north of Riggin.
Get a little closer.
On.
It's on, but move it towards you a little.
Sorry. A corollary would be going north on Wheeling, near the Greenway, that neighborhood. That's going to be basically exactly the same setup that they're proposing. So, be a left turn lane for the northbound, so that basically that left turn does not impede traffic.
How, because I'm not a construction guy, but what does that process look like if you're putting a jog in going southbound? Obviously, that's not I wouldn't think that's a huge deal, but going northbound, if you're doing like, how much of a project is that for that road?
So since we are going on to our subdivision for that jog inward going southbound, we would only have to close down one lane at that time to put in that. We would pave that first, and then we would close down one lane to make the pavement markings. But there would only just be one lane, and it would be like a flagger situation.
Okay. Thank you. Is that something that would happen at the beginning of the process, at the end? You know, like in terms of the development overall?
It would happen in the beginning because that would be part of phase one. So they would grade out the whole site, and then once they start putting in road infrastructure, so they have to keep that as a gravel drive in to knock dirt off the tires from all the grading. But once they get all the grading in and all the sanitary, storm, and water systems in, then they'll start paving. And then once they start paving, that's when they'll do that tie-in. Once the pavement of the internal subdivision is paved, that's when they'll do the tie-in, because they want to keep that gravel road there as long as possible during the grading process, so dirt doesn't get onto Morrison Road.
Thank you.
Yep.
Quick question for Tom. On Jackson, there's flooding issues currently when we get heavy rains.
Right.
Would these retention ponds alleviate that flooding over the road on Jackson, or are you not?
I think they'd actually help.
Okay.
You've got one of the largest drainage ditches in Delaware counties. From the little area that kind of sticks up, that is
You can't see my mark.
they have it flagged as a wetland. I don't think it is. No, I'm talking about over here on your
To the west.
to the west. I don't think it's. I didn't see where it was a wetland, but they have it flagged, so they're gonna keep it a wetland. But but I think just some maintenance in years past along the north side of Jackson to get water into that ditch a long time ago would have helped that out. And I don't know if that wetland would have ever appeared. So now you've got a pond right next to it that drains into a bigger pond, and all that water is going to go in there when they take those berms down on the road. They're going to make it so the water goes into those ponds, not back up onto the road, the way they're going to grade that. So in all actuality, I think it's actually going to help the water situation right along there.
To also expand on that, so in a normal rainfall event, the site discharges about, we would be reducing the discharge by 75% basically. And in 100-year, we'd be reducing that by nearly 90 because of how our ponds are shaped and how much it can detain. And basically right now, this whole subdivision in a big major rain event is discharging about 59. Like I said previously, we're cutting that down to 4 because our outlet will have a controlled orifice that will drain that at a controlled rate instead of just all free flowing.
What does 59 mean? 59 what?
Cubic feet per second.
Okay. Thank you.
And also to address the lot sizes, we are meeting all of R1 zoning ordinance for the lot sizes. And the lot sizes that are in the R1 are 40 by 120. Our minimum is 50 by 125. And our average lot width is about 55 feet. So it's even greater than 50. The only ones that are like 50 are the ones that are imposed by drainage easements. So that's why we had to make them so small, just to be able to fit a drainage easement to the ponds. But most of them are like 55 feet wide.
And on that plan that I passed along, those are the 5 red lots.
Those are the only ones that are 50?
Roughly.
Five
There's
lots or
some
so.
that are 50 on the interior. And let me show you. In like those 3 middles, some of them are 50, but majority of those are about 53, I would say. But we have a lot of 60-foot wide lots. Like I'll show you on the screen. Most of these are 60, most of these are 60, 60, 60, 60. And then most of these or around the turns and the eyebrows, those are obviously way bigger to how you have to fan out for side yard setbacks.
So I'm not a surveyor, but Tom, you may know the answer to this. I don't know, but so it looks like several people from the Saybrook Street are here, but their lots look similar sized as these when I'm looking at the map. So they're connected together. Condos, okay. So they're physically connected.
Are you talking about the condos to the north or
to the west? I'm sorry.
Okay.
When I'm looking at the map you sent me here, I'm just trying to gauge what 60 really looks like, and if 60 is common in our city already. I would.
Common ground, but it's common, so.
We can't.
Just
gallery making comments. I'm
yeah.
sorry.
You guys all have to. You guys can't make comments. Thank you. Thank you. I understand.
Yeah, it doesn't get on the.
They're not really allowed to ask questions. No. Okay, thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So just to clarify what we're taxed with, what we're asked to do is give a approval, disapproval, or approval with conditions based on what we've heard so far. And this doesn't go to another body, doesn't go to the doesn't go to the commissioners, doesn't go to the city council. It does go back to the plat. Is that right? Am I processing that right? Just
This-
goes back to the plat committee.
Yeah,
Or-
this is preliminary plat, so this will continue with the plat committee, but the approval from the plat committee will be automatic since the subdivision committee has already heard this. If this body approves it, it will not be reheard by the plat committee. It would be approved.
Okay. So we either approve, disapprove, or approve with conditions.
Are you entertaining the motion?
I'm just clarifying what our task is, I guess.
With the board looking at some conditions listed in the packet on this. Recommended by the plat committee, is that correct? That would be in our second, third page of.
You're talking about
The-
primary
those were-
approval with conditions and or
Yes.
modifications.
Yes.
Those 8 things that are listed there.
Correct.
Those were items discussed and included in the subdivision committee's favorable recommendation approval. And I believe the updated plans that were turned in have addressed all of those comments that were given by the subdivision committee. Correct, Dano? Yes, yes. All of those changes have been made.
Question or
Yeah, just more of a question probably for DR Horton. One of the concerns that came up was the north end between Willow Lake and the proposed subdivision, and whether there would be a willingness on DR Horton's part to put up some sort of a barrier. I believe a fence was mentioned, but you guys are the experts. Is there something more creative or?
Yeah, so it's typically one of 2 things. It's either a fence or it's a tree line with buffer. We always prefer the tree line. The maintenance is a lot easier. The fence gets expensive for the HOAs, and it takes up space that that we'd rather it just be a buffer with trees. That's always our preference. So
Is it a raised bed and trees, or just trees straight in the flat ground?
It's existing trees. We would like to maintain the current tree lines.
Well,
On the north side.
so are you talking about the north side?
Yeah, north side. So the west side, I understand that. I
Yep.
think those will stay, but on the north side, there was a concern from the Willow Lake folks about, people moving back and forth.
Yeah, so to address that, that green strip is about 20 feet in width, and then to the rear of those lots, so the rear of the house to where the parcel line is stopped at the top of the green strip would be about 100 feet. So you'd still have a 100-foot buffer from the rear of the lot to Willow. No, so the lots are 150 feet deep. So the pad itself for the house would be 70 feet.
We cannot, we can't address questions.
we can't address questions in there because it's not that we're not trying to stifle your thing. It just doesn't get picked up on the microphone, so we can't keep track of the minutes because we can't hear what's being said and what they're responding.
Let me clarify what Austin was saying there. So there's a little thin strip.
Oh, will you state your name, sir?
That's Steve Brehab.
This little thin strip here is 25 feet in width. The distance from the back lot line to the back of any house would be approximately 75 feet. So you're nearly from the back of the house to the adjacent property, you're close to 100 feet in there. D.R. Horton's preference would be to not install a fence along that area or a berm. We have to look at it. Berms generally impede drainage, and we don't want to do anything that ponds water in that neighborhood. So what we would prefer to do is landscape that 25 foot wide swath adjacent to the neighborhood with a series of evergreen and deciduous trees. And we'd like to work with the staff then to put together a buffer plan that would be amenable to the staff and to the developer. And that's how we would buffer the lots with distance and with landscaping. But I would caution trying to do a raised berm. That can be problematic.
Yeah, I agree. You don't want to force water either direction. You don't
No.
want to force it to the north onto Willow Lake or to the south.
The city would not allow it.
And the city would, yeah, it wouldn't be allowed.
Yeah, and the issue that Rob brought up regarding a fence, it's a long-term maintenance issue for the homeowners association where landscaping, there is some maintenance, but it's gonna outlive the fence,
Individual lot owners will be allowed to put up a fence though if they wanted to,
Certainly.
right?
certainly.
Also, just for the board's knowledge, City Engineer Adam Leach, Delaware County Surveyor Tom Borchers, Ricky Sipe, our board member, are all three on the subdivision and plat committees. And they were all involved in those earlier discussions.
And do you guys believe that your recommendations have been addressed in the latest submissions?
Yes. I can't speak for Tom, but yes for me.
Okay. You know, they're meeting all the zoning requirements. They're not even at the minimum. They're not asking for any variances, or they've at least said they wouldn't ask for any variances. They're willing to work to put in a buffer plan on the north side. On the west side, a significant amount of the trees remain. They addressed somewhat the traffic entrance on Morrison, at least the turn in, right? The turn out could still be a little bit tricky, but I heard they did traffic studies and it meets the requirements. Have you reviewed the traffic studies, Adam?
They have not provided the traffic study to me as of yet, but I assume they will. And just for general conversational purposes at this point, generally a single family home is supposed to basically generate 10 trips per day on any given day. So that includes the mailman, the trash man, any other odds and ends deliveries, people coming, going to work, and or bus traffic. So basically every home, you figure 10 trips in a day. Generally what you talk about when you talk about traffic is peak hour generation. Peak hour generation is usually 2 trips during the peak hour, which is basically people going to work. Muncie's peak hour happens somewhere between, we don't actually have a real peak hour, it's somewhere between about 7:45 and 8:15. I think everybody lives here, so they probably know that. We call it the Muncie Rush Minute. By and large, when you're talking about 160 homes, that's 320 trips. So it'd be equally distributed basically between the two entrances. That's making a general assumption that most people are going to go north, or half the people go north, half the people go east-west. That's just kind of a general assumption here, which would probably hold in reality. So basically what you have is with that, at each entrance, 160 cars entering traffic during potential, rush hour, peak hour. Ends up looking something like 2.5 cars per minute, which is not really a lot. And if you look at it in general on like the trips per day basis, last NDOT counts we had, Morrison Road is 5,277, basically average annual daily traffic, so that's both directions, is included in that count. Jackson, Morrison, if I recall correctly off the top of the head, is 6,277, something like that, plus or minus. Just frankly, in traffic engineering terms, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. Not to say that it's not insignificant, but they have, with their turning lane, basically addressed the one concern that I would have had, which would be that left turn movement holding up traffic going into the roundabout during peak hours.
Thank you.
I have a question for Adam. Do you, in your professional opinion, anticipate any utility infrastructure burdens on the neighboring residents, such as like water pressure drops or sewage issues or anything like that?
No, this sewer is one relatively new and relatively large. Once again, this is not a huge development in terms of sewer infrastructure. They're addressing some actual long-standing concerns with their stormwater infrastructure. I cannot speak for the water because it's Indiana American Water. However, they do, excuse me, they do have a large pressure main through here. I believe it is either a 18 or 24 inch. Indiana American Water operates their pressurized water mains somewhere between about 80 and 115 psi. Frankly, that is a lot. Basically, you have good water pressure at your house if you have 60 psi. So any drop you would have with this size subdivision would be essentially negligible. Once again, I'm not speaking for Indiana American Water. They got their own people, but I would not see any concern personally.
Thank you.
Anybody else have any other questions? Okay, thanks, guys. So if nobody here has any other questions, I guess we'd entertain a motion at this point.
I'd make a motion to approve with the condition that they would put a buffer plan in place as they stated for the north side.
I'll second that.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Dishman,
Yeah, yes.
Ms. Hensley,
Yes.
Mr. Ivy,
Yes.
Mr. Lachey,
Yes.
Ms. Sipe,
Yes.
Mr. Brand,
Yes.
Mr. Carroll, Mr. Smith.
Yes.
Okay, so that is official action of approval of MPC 22-25S with 8 yeses and 0 nos. We will provide you with the findings of that approval. And then you can continue your work with Plan Commission and the city to continue.
Okay, legislative action. You guys don't have to stay for the rest of the meeting if you don't want to.
All right, legislative action report for December. City council business, we had MPC 16-25Z, Peter Linwood Brown by Maureen M. Walby, power of attorney. Requesting a change in the zone from the split zone of R3 residence zone and R4 residence zone to the R3 residence zone at 100 North Hodson Avenue, Muncie, Indiana. This was adopted by City Council on 12/1/25 with a 9-0 vote. Maybe I'll give them maybe.
If you guys aren't staying, if you could just please exit quietly. Thank you.
We also had from the county commissioners, MPC 17-25Z, estate of Donna Weiss, requesting a change in zone from the split zone of F farming zone and BV variety business zone to the BV variety business zone. This was at 9001 South County Road 700 West in Delville. This was approved by the county commissioners on November 17th, 25, with a 3-0 vote. MPC 18-25Z, Ann Fruit, Renee Warner Van Fleet, and Cynthia Parker, requesting a change in zone from the R2 residence zone to the BV variety business zone at 4917 North Wheeling Avenue, Muncie, Indiana. This was adopted by and approved by the county commissioners on November 17th, 2025, with a 3-0 vote as well.
Okay, director's report.
All right, on my report here, I gave you the numbers here. These go through the end of November. For our permits that were applied for, we have a total of building permits at 275, electrical 232, HVAC 89, plumbing 80, certificate of occupancy 63, demo permits 47 for total permits issued 786. Total fees collected for permits $145,328.09. Inspections completed by Tom Fouch County Building Commissioner through the end of November. Building 562, electrical 386, plumbing 210, HVAC 157, complaints investigated 163, for a total of 1,478 inspections. On our MPO side, we did have our third SS4A steering committee meeting. We're nearing the end of that grant. We're working with American Structure Point and Flow Labs, and they are in the process now of the draft for that regional transportation safety action plan. So that should be getting wrapped up, and we should have a completed plan hopefully by March. So more to come on that. I did want to report that the 2026 MPO annual conference, we are scheduled to be the host for that conference. Now, there's 14 MPOs in Indiana, and the annual conference kind of travels around through all 14 of those. However, we are very small compared to a lot of the other MPOs. Kokomo is also very small, and we are similar in staff size. So they have allowed us to be combined with Kokomo and with Anderson to allow us to have the staffing capacity and the financial capacity to put on an annual conference. So we actually had a kickoff meeting. I had a kickoff meeting today with Kokomo and Anderson, so that the planning will start for that. That will be held at the end of August. So we have a little bit of time to prepare, but one of our main responsibilities is going to be seeking sponsors for that, sponsorships. We have to plan speakers, we have to get keynote speakers, we have to get sessions, informational sessions set up. So it's just beginning now, but I just wanted to kind of throw that out there. If anybody has any ideas of sponsors that would like to help with that, please let me know and or send them my way. Land use and development, we are continuing with the ordinance revision update. We are hoping to have a firm picked out by the end of next week, hopefully. And then negotiations will start with that firm to finally get started on our city and county ordinance update. So more to come on that as well. Our land use committees are listed here through the end of November. We have had 62 BZA cases, 30 Plan Commission cases, 19 Plat Committee cases, 1 Subdivision Committee case before you this evening, for a total of 113 cases altogether heard so far this year through the end of November. I did attach an updated 2026 schedule. We did look at this last time, but we found a few typos in it. So please use this as your corrected one. Look that over. And then I did just want to share that I received an award. I was honored by the Greater Muncie Chamber of Commerce, and I received their 2025 Excellence in Public Service Award. So that was a pretty big honor. Stephen got to share in the grand moment. He was at the awards dinner, so it was pretty cool. And then I didn't have to give a speech, but so that was good. But I would like to thank my office, because if it wasn't for all the work that the office does, all the committees and boards that I serve on, the DMMPC name wouldn't be getting out there as much, and people kind of noticing and appreciating the things that we're doing. So I did want to say thank you to everyone
I photobombed her.
in connection with that. We did get a really nice photo. So if anyone wants to see our picture, we have a really nice photo by a professional photographer. So, and then as always, just thank you to all the board members here for your time and your expertise. So,
Can you provide an update on the electric fence?
oh, yes. I have not sent you anything yet on that, but I have been gathering information. I would just like a little bit more time to kind of organize it before I just kind of dump that all on you. So that will be, coming soon. So,
And thank you, Mr. Leach, and thank you, Mr. Borchers, for being here.
yes,
Appreciate it.
thank you. It's very helpful.
Anything else? Okay. We are adjourned.